Could mainstream economic views be leading us astray? And might modern monetary theory, or MMT, offer a more accurate depiction of our economic landscape? To delve into this, we first need to understand what MMT is all about. At its core, MMT rejects the often used analogy of a government's budget being like a household's. Instead, it posits that a government, as the creator of its own currency, doesn't need to rely on taxes or bonds to finance its spending. A key principle of MMT is the idea that deficits are not inherently inflationary, provided they're scaled to fill the private sector's desire to save. This means that government spending, regardless of its source, is just spending, and it's no more inflationary than if the private sector were doing the spending. When a government issues bonds to match its deficit, the central bank adjusts reserve accounts and a treasury debt account accordingly. But this doesn't reduce bank deposits created by fiscal deficits. In fact, the bond sales don't alter the net worth in the non-government sector at all. They only change the composition of the assets held outside the government. If we understand this, we can see more clearly that bond issuance doesn't alter the inflation risk inherent in government spending. The funds used to buy the bonds aren't being spent on goods and services, so bond sales don't typically reduce non-government spending. But don't just take our word for it. History backs up the MMT view. Over the past 3 decades, central banks have significantly expanded their balance sheets by buying government bonds to prevent deflation. These bond buying programs have effectively been funding fiscal deficits. Yet there were no inflationary consequences because spending wasn't pushed beyond the real resource constraints. This aligns with MMT's focus on the constraints on government spending. So, to sum up, MMT presents a different perspective on economics, one that rejects the household budget analogy, views deficits not as inherently inflationary, but as a function of private sector savings desires, and emphasizes that government spending is just spending, no matter where it comes from. It also underscores that bond issuance doesn't inherently heighten inflation risk, and that fiscal sustainability is about ensuring an inclusive society where everyone who wants to work can. In short, MMT offers a fresh lens through which to view our economic landscape, one that may be more accurate and insightful than mainstream economic views. It's certainly food for thought for anyone wanting to better understand the intricacies of our economic system and its potential for sustainable prosperity and inclusivity.